time to make another video stroke documentary, and in this one I'm going to try and cram a hell of a lot in. A couple of things I want to say first is I can't reply to all the emails I'm getting, and there are some people accusing me of making videos for money. My videos are monetized from third-party content, so any monetization is actually done by someone else's clip or someone else's bit of music or someone else's image. So I'm not getting any money for my videos. Let's just rule that out. This video is not really for newbies or those on the fence. I'm not sure if it's ball or flat. And there's other places where they can go to debate that and find that out for themselves. This is another video for those already on board with the flat earth model. And in the description you'll see some links to some of my other work, which will give you probably a bit of a better understanding of some of the things we're going to show later on in this documentary. Okay, we're going to cover quite a few different things. So we sort of split this up into some chapters. So we can do like a short introduction in a minute. Quick look at ball versus flat very quickly and where we're at. And in section 2 we're going to look at the inner journey of a flat earth realization. No one's really talked about that yet. And we look at the truth movement, because it's all sort of linked. In section 3 we're going to look at the flat earth community, where it is now, sort of factions growing, and it will look at the dome stroke infinite plane debate. We're going to look at Tunguska, some more clues, more information's come to light, linking it to the dark rift and cataclysm. And we're going to look at NASA, CERN and symbolism and what's potentially coming on the horizon, on the flat horizon. Okay, here's a flat earth, which most of us are sort of familiar with now. A couple more maps. And it's growing, there's thousands of people every week listening to this and talking about it and mocking people. I mean, it's so hot, very hot right now. This is a segment from a book called Terra Firma, Earth Not a Plane, by David Scott. It was quite a few years ago as well. Lord Beaconsfield wisely said, "A subject or system that will not bear discussion is doomed." Both Copernicus himself, who revived the theory of the heathen philosopher Pythagoras, and his great exponent Sir Isaac Newton, confessed that their system of a revolving earth was only a possibility and could not have been proven by facts. It is only their followers who have decorated it with the name of an exact science. Yes, according to them, the most exact of all sciences. You can see horizons are very flat. I just want to run through this real quick, get this stuff out of the way. I mean, it's flat. In the fisheye corrections, flat. You can see this guy's made a video. You're talking about perspective. And you can see from a hot air balloon, everywhere around you is equally flat and equal distance. The horizon's still at eye level, which it shouldn't be. And there's some ball earthers. They want to talk and debate all day about things like gravity that don't even exist. This is an island near Mauritius where you can see it. I think it's 230 kilometers away. You shouldn't be able to see it because of the curvature of the Earth. If you look at the mathematics from the diameter and circumference and radius of the Earth, and curvature trigonometry, it should be below the horizon. Not just a little bit, it should be a good few kilometers below the horizon. You think, well, maybe someone's mucking around, this is like a bit of Photoshop, some crazy flat earthers. But in Mauritius, they've actually got stuff in the tourist magazines telling you where to go and see it at sunset. So this is real. This is 230 kilometers. You can see. It doesn't make sense, does it? So it's not a ball. It's not a ball. This game set a match right there, isn't it? Before we get into the moon, the stars, Antarctica, tides, gravity, before we go into all these other 100 sub-subjects, it's flat. Choose the good places where to see it, favourable climate conditions. Yeah. 230 kilometres. It's just, the world's flat. And the problem is that their minds can't handle it. And they can't handle it that a bunch of, mainly conspiracy theorists, truth movement dudes, have come up with it recently. Not scientists or television. Even, I think they were arguing Ernie and Bert took Ernie up in his ship and he showed him, he started to wig it out. And people are believing NASA photos all the time. Even here, one a few years apart, the size of America's changing. Very strange. And people are they don't realise that these photos aren't real. They're that mind controlled. It's really deep. There's a cartoon. I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be funny. That's a cartoon. Also, the flight patterns is another big key. This is actually a picture from Cape Canaveral. This is NASA headquarters. Yeah, this is one of their satellites. You can also look at things like water, how it can't be curved. It never curves. It's not possible. I've talked about that in my recent gravity article on wakey.com. There's some clever people in the flat earth community talking about perspective. For a lot of people, the sunrise and sunset's a problem, but when we talk about perspective and the human eye and perception, this all becomes very clear. So there's billions of people who are actually living on a painting. It's kind of weird. Not really for me. There's people all over online media. This guy, I don't know this guy, just saw the sunrise. I can't believe all these mouth breathers who believe that the sun's rising. Seriously, people will believe anything. Never forget you're being lied to. These people are all over the web now. 100% flat earthers. There's a smart guy, Michael Lewis, seen some of his stuff. When someone keeps arguing with me about the flat earth, that's when I know they're about to crack. When they feel deep down inside something wasn't right. Before long, they will soon realise that all the photos of the earth are composites. Then it hits them. This is quite true. What I've seen online, I think it's on Facebook, there's a group with 5,000 people or so. I think it's called Flat Earth versus Spherical Earth. It's about 10 to 20 to 50 debates a day between ballers and flat earthers. And you can join there. It's free to join. It's a public group. Join it and just watch. And you'll see, 10, 20, 50 times a day, these ball earthers, they get cornered and they don't win any debates. They just don't. And this tends to be what happens. They go into this group and they start mocking, is this for real? Is this really a flat earth group? Do people really believe this? Are you like Christians, or are you like in some cult? And when they're presented with information, they tend to do this. They can't answer. What happens is we see there's an epidemic of cognitive dissonance going on. Some of these sort of forums and groups, it's a bit like this. There's like 2 or 3 guys with some solid flat earth information. And there's like thousands and thousands of these ballers with insults and ridicule. But I've seen these like flat earth guys, they stand strong. And they just take them all out one by one. It's like bash, bash, bash. And these people are on it all day long. There's like 20 or so admins, they're sitting there just waiting for these ball earthers to come along. And they can hit them round the head with the moon, NASA, curvature, Antarctica, space, planets. It just goes on and on. You've just got to go and watch it. If you're not sure, you've just got to go and watch some of these debates. Because the ball earth's a big fucking joke. And I know it's crazy. And I know it's a big one. But that's the way it is. There's some really clever guys out there starting to make little videos and look at different models. Because within the flat earth community there are some different ideas and different opinions. Everyone agrees it's flat, but what's at the edge? How does this work? How do the stars work? There are a few discrepancies, and that's healthy. It's healthy. And these young guys, pretty happy, just found out. So what I want to say is, in this sort of video, I don't want to talk about the ball. If you want to talk about the ball and is it flat, is it a ball, go to the Facebook group Flat Earth v Spherical Earth, because I'm over it. And anyone giving me emails about this, I'm just going to send you there because it's impeding my further research. I'll have a little look into chapter 2 now. And look at the flat earth inner journey for each person who's now aware to the flat earth. And it sort of links to the truth movement. I hate those words personally, but I don't know what other ones to use. Because it does seem that in the flat earth community there's some really smart, truthers, conspiracy theorists, people exposing stuff, people exposing toxicity and deception. It's probably a better way to put it. I mean, the general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't know that it doesn't know. It's a pretty accurate quote. It's probably karmic as well. Some souls are probably not supposed to know at this stage of their evolution for whatever reason. There's a lot of this unlightening going on. This is where it's like a verb of learning something that makes you dumber. So everyone's into this unlightening. Are you going on this unlightening retreat? Yeah. It's called 4 years in university. Generally something like that. Especially with males over 35 years old, you find this a lot. My worldview's the only one that's valid. I reject your view because it challenges my beliefs. Especially males, they tend to define themselves by knowledge and their opinions. With girls and women, this is very rarely the case. It's very much a male ego thing. But there's a lot of people who've been studying this flat earth thing on their own. It's the only way you can do it. You sort of get the books out, get the internet out, and you sort of study it. You look at the ball and you work it out, And a lot of people have lost friends over this. A lot of people have lost friends. And a lot of people have had a big awakening, a big realization, a big change in their frequency. I mean, it is big. It's like space doesn't exist anymore. The planets, this infinite universe, infinite space, big stars, big suns. This has all been smashed up. This is a saying that can apply to the flat earth as well as other things in today's world. Those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses. It's the very intelligent Plato, who also wrote about Atlantis and other things. People are also having trouble with family. People are talking to their family about flat earth. Probably not a great idea over Sunday lunch. Comments are confusing me. Are you on the ball, son? I mean, this is just going to flip people out. And I know people who've got problems in their families because of talking to them about flat Earth. And then, you know, the young lad, he ends up flattened. He's there in his room. He's flattened. He's like, what's going on? I can't speak to my own family about it. Because the awakening is because being lied to, it sucks, you know? It's a big lie. No one likes being lied to. It's like you've uncovered something. You've exposed something. Like Columbo, the detective. You've sussed it out. But I want to talk about the actual awakening of flat Earth a bit more. I mean, I don't know Rob Arson. It's not the sort of guy you want to give a box of matches to, is it? Amazing quote. I really like this. Most of the flat earthers don't even know it's flat. They're content with believing. This is true. There's a lot of flat earthers who just believe it's flat. They sort of look at the numbers. They haven't really caught the wave, because the awakening, the realization of flat Earth is a big internal wave. And if you don't catch it, you've probably missed it. Once you have this, go through the washing machine, this realization, I mean, it's an inner thing. It's an inner journey. Especially men, again, they're after the hard rationale and the numbers only. I mean, the numbers these things are required. The rationale is required. But it's really left less than 50% of the realization. I mean, how does one look at things now after they know it's flat? Do people look at things differently? Do people contemplate things differently? Do people spend time alone in nature with a new sense of childlike wonder? Because if you just look at the numbers and yeah, it's flat and nothing changes inside you, then there's no real fucking point, I dare say. Because you're missing the wave. It's akin to a surfer out there waiting for the wave and missing it. I mean, the guy can surf, but he's missed the wave. I mean, the flat earth, it changes one's whole reality. As I say, it's an inner thing. Nature's required. Some solitude is required. It can't be constantly online, being passive to other people's opinions. You got to go out there with yourself, and work with that realization. Where do you sit with it? It's an individual thing. It's your own path. In this sort of washing machine, we realize that we've been lied to so much about where we are, about who we are, what we are. We've been left in the dark for so long that humanity seems to not even care anymore. Or maybe the flat earthers are an exception, and we do care and we do seek answers. And we want to spread the truth for others, to realize where we are. So we become a species that are trying to figure things out. What is this place? So maybe this flat earth thing, movement, I don't know what I'll call it, this flat earth realization is waking us up from this amnesia. And this is why it feels really good to finally get some answers. Because we all know deep down that our species, our humanity is aligned to truth. But most of the population, current population, have forgotten that. We've been treated for millennia like we're some kind of retarded space monkey thing. And they literally made us believe we evolved from monkeys. I mean, these controllers, they love lies and deception. But the flat earth knowledge is helping us to escape these illusions and go for the hidden truths, even if that truth might not be what we want to hear. It's like in the situation where one suspects a partner's cheating. It doesn't matter that it will hurt. We still want the truth in its raw form. Because at least when we know the truth, we can react accordingly and act accordingly and progress accordingly. What I found in the flat earth world is there's a lot more women, a lot more girls in Flat Earth. I think because Flat Earth's more intuitive. If you speak to a man about Flat Earth off the bat, they'll freak out. If you speak to a girl about Flat Earth off the bat, they'll tend to be more open-minded. Their eyes will tend to spring open like, oh, that's interesting. It's just that the girls tend to be more intuitive, generally speaking. I mean, intuition is esoterically a female thing. In the Flat Earth world, there are people, I mean, there are couples splitting up over it. There are new connections happening. But we need to keep going. We need to go through the door. We need to go through the gate. We need to find out more. We need to find out more about this Flat Earth. We need to find out about the stars, the edges. Is it a dome? Is it infinite space? Is it multidimensional? There are many unanswered questions. And it seems that like 99% of people are happy just talking to the ball earthers. But we need more people who are looking at the edges, the stars, the edge, Antarctica. We need to progress. We need to keep looking outside. Some people's lives have been a bit turned upside down with this. They've gone on a completely new life journey. A bit like a spiritual awakening. I hate those words, but we'll use them for now. And people are learning to trust the journey, and they really don't sort of understand their life's been changed and shaken up. And the Flat Earth realization can do that if one captures the wave correctly. But with what I've found interesting is with the Flat Earth world, is some people come into the Flat Earth world community and don't know much about the government, statist, banking framework, the New World Order framework. They're okay with Flat Earth, but they're going through an awakening with all this other stuff. But there's others that have been into the truth movement for years and just coming into the Flat Earth thing, and they're going through a massive wake up with that. I mean, there's a whole multitude of different people. But what the Flat Earthers tend to know is that there's lies everywhere. There's like the world wars, the terror attacks, the central banks, the media. Where does tax go? Corporation control, capitalism. You know, what's in the food? Who funds Congress? Who funds Israel? The history books. This is all lies. All lies. You've even got teenagers now wearing a bay. They think they're cool. They think they're being cool and not obeying, but it's reverse symbolism. They're being hit with an image. They're the ones obeying. This is so stupid. And we've got David Cameron there at a banquet surrounded by shiny gold things, talking about austerity. And we got that, you know, people in the Flat Earth community are working out that, you know, the 8 billion or so tax a year to NASA, a lot of this is about money and control. It's not just about lying about the reality. There's a big money thing going on. I mean, $8 billion, it's a fair bit of money. You can buy people with that. People with low integrity can be bought. This happens every day. People go to work and do toxic jobs for money. People are easily bought. Integrity is not taught at school. We don't have, oh, what have we got today? We've got maths, English, and we've got double lesson of integrity. The word integrity is not used in the education system. People are just waking up to all these things, you know. We're going to have to take away your freedoms to protect you from the people who want to take away your freedoms. You want to control the internet so you cannot unlearn the lies of school. And people are becoming a bit more aware to statism. And that anarchism isn't sort of chaos and nutcases. It's actually no masters above and no slaves below. It's actually a very very decent framework for a society. And people are realizing that, babies born now are automatically in the system. It's very hard to have a baby, have a human, let's call it what it is. It's hard to have a human and not have it in the system. I mean, I know countries in Europe, you're not allowed a passport without a birth certificate. You're in the system straight off the bat. So what's happening with this school thing, which you sort of have to go to, it's quite hard to get out. They're teaching you to be an idiot, really. I mean, if we really break it down. And you've even got this thing now where everyone thinks they're awake, and they're really sort of half awake. It's a little cartoon here. Look at all these people, glassy-eyed, automations, automatons, going about their daily lives, never stopping to look around and think. I'm the only conscious human in a world of sheep. So one thing that's dangerous is someone who's not awake who thinks they're awake. It's better to be awake and think you're asleep. But you have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. Many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will protect to fight it. We have in the sort of very much linked to today's world, exposing deception is the transhuman agenda. It's happening very slowly. But the smartphone's attached to people all the time. I've got a couple of clips here. I'm going to look into Windows 10's just come out. This is the big Techworm website, exposing that some stuff in the terms and conditions. Basically, Microsoft collects everything about you and everything you do if you're using Windows 10. Interests, history. We can even use your voice. I mean, you've got to read this stuff. I mean, if you use Windows 10, they're doing anything they want. I mean, in places like Sweden now, Sweden's very much nearly cashless society now. There's this thing called Swish. Everyone's paying on their phones. You're zapping things to each other. This is massive in Sweden. In Sweden online, you can see what other people earn and the tax they pay, how well off they are. Emoticon faces there. It's a bit weird. There's an article from the Scandinavian Traveller. Cash is dead, mobile payments on the rise. We're getting transhumanized real slowly. And people are loving it. They're queuing up for it. This isn't cool. This really isn't cool. In the name of convenience. I like this down the bottom here. It's like an article on how to move to Spain. Well, I know how to do that. What you do is you move your vessel that you're inside to Spain. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, I'm going to load up this. Another thing about Sweden here is another video.
Get wearable technology. Swedish office worker Lynn Kowalaska is having it implanted under her skin. A microchip about the size of a grain of rice is injected into her hand.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time it felt very modern, very 2015.
Instead of ID cards or passcodes, workers who sign up for the implant can now open doors with the wave of a hand. The chip also currently lets workers swap contact details via a smartphone and operate a photocopier. Patrick Mesterton, co-founder of the Epicenter Tech Hub in central Stockholm, sees plenty of future applications for the implant.
Like anything where you today would use a PIN code or a key or a card. So payments is, I think, one area. I think also for healthcare reasons, that you can sort of communicate with your doctor and you can get data on what you eat and sort of what your physical status is.
The radio frequency identification chip is made from Pyrex glass and contains an antenna and microchip with no need for batteries. While some workers may feel uneasy at the prospect of literally taking their work home with them, the designers say the chip is completely safe and secure.
You have your own identification code and you're sending that to something else which you have to grant access to. So there's no one else that can sort of follow you on your ID, so to say. It's you who decide who gets access to that ID.
A little story about humans at the moment. The other day I went for a quick swim in the sea. I live quite near the sea in the Mediterranean, and it's hot, so I need a swim sometimes. And I went in, I was having a swim, and I felt this massive pain. And I was like, there's a jellyfish. And I looked around me and there's like loads and loads of jellyfish, like 100. Little red pinky ones. And then I realised there's no one else in the sea. There's like 100 people on the beach, 50 people on the beach, this nice little hidden beach. I get out the sea, I'm giving it a bit of ow, I'm giving it some of that ow stuff, because I'm in a bit of pain. And I went up to the nearest people on the beach and I said, there's jellyfish in the sea. And they nodded their heads, yeah. And they were a bit freaked out. There's a stranger talking to them. You know, is this guy crazy? Yep, there's jellyfish in the sea, I said. Well, did you know before I went in the sea that there were jellyfish in the sea? They looked at each other. Yeah, jellyfish in the sea, yeah, we know. I looked at them and I said, well, why the fuck didn't you tell me not to go in the sea because there's loads of jellyfish in there? And they had this look on their face, like it was like this zombie, strange, oh my god, you talking about some sort of humanity and compassion? Some sort of fellowship, we don't know you. And it was really crazy. This is where people are at. I mean, especially in groups, they're into non-versation. It's where people talk about stuff, such small talk, it's completely trivial. And if anyone says anything that means anything, it just stuns everyone. I mean, this is the elephant in the room. What's going on in the world? All these lies and deception and humanity in amnesia. I nearly forgot the word then. This is the elephant in the room. The rubbish we have to buy. The perpetual growth within business. The watching TV in the evening, every evening, when our souls are screaming. You see, these are the elephants in the room. And in the mystic traditions, the big fish of ignorance just come and gobble you up. But there are a few not falling for it, so cheers. But it's all an inner thing, as we said in this section, in this chapter. The whole awakening and the whole realization of truth's an inner thing. And it can be painful. Because when you're born into a world you don't fit into, it's probably because you were born to help create a new one. And the whole awakening thing's not really a matter of intelligence. There are many intelligent people deep in illusion. But it's really about the insatiable thirst to know truth and to love truth. And when you don't care what anyone thinks of you, you've reached a really good place of freedom. Because a lot of people know stuff and they feel stuff, but then they're still scared. Still scared to be who they really are. So they're like one person to these people, and they're someone different to their sister, and there's someone different at home, someone different to their lover. This isn't healthy. People are learning that they want to be self-governing. They don't want anyone between themselves and freedom. And their integrity is something they want to work on and become. And march through the obstacles in life with a bit of zen. And find that place of freedom. We're going to get on to chapter 3 now, a bit more of a serious chapter. looking at the flat earth community, factions, the dome, amongst other things. I just want to do a big shout out to all the other researchers out there. Atlantean Conspiracy, Jeranism, Yoda's Flat Earth Channel, John LeBon, Paul Chief, Stars of Souls, Simon Ramos on some battlefield somewhere, and all the other guys exposing, the spherical cult belief. Look at the community is doing some good things. They're attacking someone like this guy, Brian Cox, sort of a BBC front man, super scientist, housewife's favourite. If you do a little digging into him, he's very anti-astrology, anti-moon landing, conspiracy theorists. He's a true gatekeeper. Now, Brian Cox here, I heard his middle name is Likes BBC. If you look at the way he's standing in this photo, it does seem like that could very well be his middle name. There's a lot of people now doing moon testing, temperatures of moonshade against sunlight, and the results are matching with what I said in my free to download ebook on the moon. The community is also exposing the sort of eco-spiritual, new age websites that are all very global. You need to ask yourselves, this sort of green tax they're pushing, these sort of fake spiritual new age controlled websites. You start to see through a lot of this very quickly. So let's go on to electromagnetism. We know that the sort of the main guys behind the Ball model, they didn't know anything about electromagnetism, know anything about electricity. What we got at the moment is a lot of really good theory and information coming out about electromagnetics within the flat Earth model. I think a book or a documentary or website's coming soon. At the moment, there's some loose chats and odd comments online. So very much look forward to some solid information coming out. The electromagnetism solutions on the flat Earth doesn't really mean there's no divine creator or no creators. I've seen some thinking that the electromagnetic flat Earth model means there's no creationism. I find that a little bit weird. If you understand everything, you must be misinformed. Japanese proverb, which is very good for all flat Earth researchers. At the moment, we seem to have three factions: the infinite plane faction, the enclosed dome faction, and the mind of God / creationism dimension within a multi-dimensional universe faction. Well, I don't think these three factions are mutually exclusive. I don't think they're like three silos. Now, they could all be true. That might take a bit of a while to get your head around. But I want to look into each one, starting with the infinite plane, where the belief in this faction is there's other land being hidden. Matt Powerland's pushing this theory quite heavily, as are some others. Some great artwork out there. It's really great for the imagination, this other lands. And some people are getting really strong with it, that they're saying people are brainwashed if they don't think there's other land. Yeah, there's a bit of this going on within these factions a little bit. But I have a little issue with the infinite plane / other land. I went into Stellarium, and I went down to the Falkland Islands near Antarctica. In English, like a few wars there. It's our land. We got a flag. Fucking idiots. Okay, so we go down to deep south and we look at Venus, which is only 3,000 miles away because it's in front of the sun sometimes on a transit. And we see it goes down below the flat plane. So it's only 3,000 miles away at most. There we go. Where's Venus going then? Or it's going through the land? It's only 3,000 miles away. If we look due south, where are all these luminaries going? You see? This creates an issue with the infinite plane. I mean, this is only a few thousand miles away. I believe luminaries, what we call stars, are only between 3 and 10,000 miles away. If we look at this of Venus, we see, yeah, it's either the morning star or evening star, it goes below. And it's only a few thousand miles away. Here we can see it another way. You see the stars aren't that far away. And if it's an infinite plane, the stars are blocked. So it creates an issue. You see? And using stellarium we can see that. Also, in an old book, I think it's Earth, Not a Globe, they say that the atmospheric pressure is very much less in the southern than the northern hemisphere. They don't really know why. Now, there's another part of the book saying that the pressure is lower in the southern, near the southern ring, shall we say, near Antarctica. This lends itself towards a dome, I would say, because of course the dome would be less at the edges. There would be less air, less pressure. But again, this is not definitive. But then, okay, we've just looked at the infinite plane theory faction. Let's now look at the dome, enclosed dome faction, and the sort of things this group is saying and any proof we can find. I have come across some new information I'm hoping to present. I mean, maybe the place we live in was built and created and it's not a cosmic accident. Maybe the sacred geometry in the planets, plants, flowers, human body, etc. is a blueprint of the builders, the creators, or the creator. If we are in an enclosed dome, it does raise the question of who or what is behind the curtain. And of course, all the old religions pretty much talk of a dome. In Greek mythology, we find reference about what is above the firmament. I mean, Hyperion on the right here, a Titan god of light, one of the sons of Uranus, who's on the left, the sky dome, and Gaia, the earth. Hyperion was a father of all the lights of heaven, and Helios was his son. Hyperion was one of the 4 Titan brothers who conspired with Kronos in the castration of their father, Uranus, which could be seen as the splitting of the Milky Way, which refers to my other work. We could say when the cataclysm descended from the heavens, when Hyperion's name means watcher from above, or he goes above, he who goes above, from the Greek words hyper and eon. The same story like in the Bible, where the father of the sun is situated above the earth's dome and he sits on the throne and watches everyone. Now, I want to look into meteorites a little bit, because some think they could be falling pieces of metal from the dome, the sky ceiling. And what is really interesting is when we study their composition, we find that iron meteorites are meteorites that consist overwhelmingly of nickel-iron alloys. And that's kind of weird. How come they all have the same composition? I mean, if these, in the Bohr model, this infinite space, all these different rocks from all around space and the solar system and the galaxy, surely they'd all be a little bit different. But all the iron meteorites consist of pretty much the same nickel-iron alloy. When we study the metal industry in today's modern world, the function of nickel is a toughener. It increases corrosion resistance. Maraging steels are steels/iron alloys that are known for possessing superior strength and toughness without losing malleability. The principal alloy element in these maraging steels is 15 to 25% nickel. It's important to know 95% of all meteorites contain iron-nickel metal. Iron-nickel means that the metal is mostly iron but contains between 4 and 30% nickel, as well as a few tenths of a percent of cobalt. So iron meteorites contain a relatively high percentage of nickel, a metal very rarely found on Earth. And they display a unique feature that is never seen in terrestrial material. When they analyze the so-called iron meteorites, they have in their structure what is known as the Widmanstätten patterns. You can see them here, and that does look a little bit otherworldly, doesn't it? And this pattern is very unique, but the mainstream la-la world says that this pattern is found also in iron from Earth. The mainstream world calls it terrestrial or telluric iron or native iron. This is maybe a hoax invented by the mainstream geologists in order to cover evidence that smaller pieces of the dome fell to Earth's surface during cataclysm. And then they got mixed with different rocks here on the surface. Here is a great article that proves the lie about telluric iron. This is Malaga Bay depreciating the Ovivac iron meteorites. This is quite a long and complex article. But if you're interested in looking at this, this is where to go. There are people out there who know a lot about meteorites, but come from a ball Earth perspective. And it's wise that we start looking at this from the flat Earth perspective to help us find out if there's a dome or not. For me, that all these meteorites contain the same amount of nickel, and nickel's a big strengthening component. This does point towards a dome, doesn't it? Okay. Now, metallic iron is virtually unknown on the surface of the Earth, except as iron-nickel alloys from meteorites. So the iron used by people until recent history was all from meteorites, possibly pieces of the dome or sky ceiling. Now, mainstream historians believe that Egyptians were the first people to work with small amounts of iron, some 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, and the metal they used was apparently extracted from meteorites. And this is according to mainstream historian dudes. Now, iron is a common element, but pure iron is almost never found in nature. The only pure iron known to exist naturally comes from fallen meteorites. And it's only in recent history where people began to extract iron from the real Earth iron source, the iron ore. Iron found on Earth is taken from iron ores that are rocks and minerals from which metallic iron can be economically extracted. The official story is this. I think this is from Wikipedia. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, most iron was obtained from widely available geothite or bog ore. For example, during the American Revolution and Napoleonic Wars, prehistoric societies used laterite as a source of iron ore, but they forgot to mention the meteorite iron that was easily available. Now, here's a picture here of the Hobart iron meteorite. And this meteorite left no observable crater. And this is the largest meteorite ever found and the largest piece of iron ever found. It is specifically an ataxite, which contains a significant fraction of nickel, about 84% iron and 16% nickel, with traces of cobalt. Now, For anyone who's seen my last long video about the dome and cataclysm, and maybe this is why we hear those metallic sounds during the so-called trumpet noises, because the dome's made out of metal, different metals. Also, there are hardened pieces of magma maybe attached to the interior of the dome stroke ceiling, which fall from time to time, the so-called rock meteorites, which is also in my last documentary. And many of them fall during thunderstorms when the vibrations get quite high. Another thing to know is if there is a dome or sky ceiling, there's highly possibly ice attached to our side of it. Now, if you type into the internet megacryometeor, ice. If you type this into Google Images, you'll see that these ice meteorites falling through people's houses, people's cars, just out of nowhere. It's quite astounding. I want to look at this. This is a short clip. Japan. Someone in Japan recently did a test with a really strong laser. It's just some sort of mainstream scientist. So I'm not sure how much we can prove it. But apparently, when they were playing with this super duper laser, there was a massive green glow in Chicago. Now, this is only really possible if it was bouncing off the dome. Obviously, on the ball nonsense, not possible. But the ball theory is just a car crash, really. Train wreck. But on the flat Earth, this is possible. It points up, bounces off the dome, comes back to Chicago. Very, very interesting. And probably worth a bit more research. But I'm sort of up to my neck at the moment in research. There's a lot of movies with dome symbolism, like the clip we just saw from a recent movie called The Signal. There's Under the Dome, the Maze Runner film, The Truman Show, Dark City, 13th Floor, tons of others. So what I'm saying is there's a lot more symbolism in Hollywood than there is for the dome than there is for the infinite plane and other land. This isn't like a truth we can hang our hat on, but it's something to note. Now, apart from the infinite plane and the dome factions, there's also a sort of, it's quite hard to word this, an interdimensional creationism faction where you can't actually ever get to the edge or up to the sky. It's like a dimension within a multi-dimensional universe where this is the design. I mean, we are very much interdimensional beings, so it's possible that the Earth we're on is. Now, if we go back to Hermetic philosophy, it's Hermes Trismegistus, there's a Hermetic book called the Kabbalion, which is a very, very good book, little principles of the universe. And this talks about our reality being a mental reality within the mind of a creator, within the mind of the all, or God, as some might say. So this book sort of says everything's within the all, but the all's also within everything too. But that our reality is like within the mind, it's all mental. It's within the mind of the creator, along with thousands or millions or billions of other realities. So it's like imagined up by a high mind. And the frequency we're running at decides the sort of dimensional reality we experience. We've also got the Buddhist Mount Meru stuff, which I've gone into in other work, where we can see, they sort of believe there's different realities above and below, again interdimensional, different frequencies. Even the Norse mythology sort of looks at this as well, different realities up and down. So a lot of the main factions in flat Earth are looking outwards, but a lot of the ancients were looking up and down. Maybe at the North Pole there's something we don't know, some sort of way of getting to some of these other realities, who knows. But you can have a sort of divine creation or a creator also with a mechanical dome. And you can have a divine creation stroke creator with infinite land. In fact, the divine creation or a creator has to be at the bottom of all of these models, or other creator beings. So these sort of rigid factions appearing in the flat Earth community don't really make sense, because there's more overlap than what's being presented and what we can see. I want to talk about Tunguska in this section. There's some more work on Tunguska in my last documentary called Flat Earth, Dark Rift, the Dome, Myth and Cataclysm. Now, the Dark Rift has many myths attached to it. It's obviously a lot closer than what we thought. And in that documentary I presented all the myths that state that this opens or something comes out of it and starts a cataclysm. And in the last documentary I showed how Tunguska was highly possibly related to something happening here. Tunguska was like a mini cataclysm in 1908. This is the location. Caused mass devastation. No meteorite was ever found. Eyewitness accounts talk of fire coming out of the sky in a slow arc, a spherical object, cylindrical object. If we look at where Cassiopeia, I'm quite interested in Cassiopeia. It's in the Dark Rift, as we can see here. Now, the centre of the Dark Rift, the bulge bit, the really intense bit, is really where Sagittarius and Scorpio, where the arrow and the sting both point to on the bulge. Cassiopeia's further up. But if we look at Tunguska at the time in 1908, 30th of June, midnight UTC, we can see where Cassiopeia was. Let's run this little clip. You can see the date in Stellarium here. Turned off the daylight. location, sort of Siberia. And Cassiopeia at the time of this mini cataclysm was right at the top of the sky ceiling, luminary dome, whatever words you want to use, whatever words you're happy with. Okay. And we can see again Cassiopeia is right in the center there, looking up. Now, why is this interesting? Well, NASA are telling us at the moment that the most recent supernova was in the Cassiopeia constellation. They call it Cassiopeia, Cas A. And they picked it as the most they pick it as the most recent explosion in our galaxy. Now, let me digress a little and talk about radio astronomy. This is a good science and is based on radio measurements of the electromagnetic radiation emitted from the celestial bodies, including stars and anything in the sky, really. It was invented by Karl Jansky, who discovered it accidentally working with telephone stuff in the 30s. And these were just honest researchers. This work was later continued by Grote Reber. At first it sounds complicated, but it's not. It's simple. Electromagnetic radiation emitted from the sky is just like any other radio signal. All radio signals have different frequencies and intensity levels. A car passing down the street emits a radio signal, so does a hairdryer. And these honest researchers, all they did is pointed their radio antennas towards different parts of the sky and started receiving signals in the hertz unit, megahertz and gigahertz. This is no voodoo science, it's a real science. But of course, when NASA was invented, they immediately took complete control over radio astronomy, and a corporation called SETI took over, and the show was over. It was game, set and match. And they made sure all people are brainwashed in their beliefs, so they mislead any amateur radio astronomer who might actually look at the data with fresh eyes and expose their round earth and infinite universe lies. Now, the strength of the radio signal from each constellation has variations. It's not constant. And there's one fact about the electromagnetic radio signal emitted from the sky dome stroke ceiling. The only strongest sources are located on the dark rift, or very near it. And the strongest sources are in the Sagittarius constellation, which is exactly at the center of the dark rift, where the bulge is. Now, and as we saw, Cassiopeia is where the Tunguska event occurred. It was right above. Now, what they say is, NASA and SETI, they say that Cassiopeia A is the place in the sky which emits the strongest amount of cosmic radio signal, stroke cosmic rays, stroke cosmic radiation, stroke radio waves, even bigger than the next big signal, which is in the Sagittarius constellation. Now, on Saggy, we can sort of expect it to be big because of the galactic bulge, but they say Cassiopeia A is emitting the strongest signal. Now, what I think is this is because something happened here linked to Tunguska quite recently, in 1908. Now, in this link above, in this website we can see on the screen now, you can find some good information about how they interpreted the data from early barometric and seismic observations in Tunguska. And if you look at my last documentary, they said the explosion was so huge that the ground moved and earthquake tremors were felt. Now, it's kind of crazy, but maybe that derangement and opening in the sky that witnesses reported caused a device or something to fall and to explode in midair. We can have a long debate on what it was. I mean, maybe it was some concentrated energy that is behind the dome, or maybe it was a falling star. I mean, this is conjecture, but it was something. People always wonder why the so-called exploding fireballs, shooting stars, always fall at an angle, at an arc. The answer is simple, because they are attached to the spinning ceiling of the flat Earth. When they fall, they are thrown at an angle because of the velocity of the spinning sky. There was also a sky glow reported before and after the event of Tunguska. Like there were some signs in the sky. There's a quote here. The unusual glow in the sky was first observed days before the event. beginning on the 23rd of June 1908, atmospheric optical anomalies were observed in many places of Western Europe, the European part of Russia and Western Siberia. Another quote. At around 7:15 a.m. local time in Tunguska, natives in the hills northwest of Lake Baikal observed a column of bluish light, nearly as bright as the sun, moving across the sky. About 10 minutes later there was a flash and a loud knocking sound similar to artillery fire that went in short bursts, spaced increasingly wider apart. Eyewitnesses closer to the explosion reported the sound source moving during each barrage, east to north. The sounds were accompanied by a shockwave that knocked people off their feet and broke windows hundreds of miles away. So another important data that made the researchers scratch their heads was the speed of this celestial body or thing. They couldn't really understand it. There was one researcher, Manetskov, decided that the 1908 object had a far slower entry speed, and that nearing the Earth it reduced its speed to less than half a mile per second. Now, Tunguska really is the sort of smoking gun and gives us some clear evidence to do with the dark rift, highly possible. Now at Tunguska, the opening happened at the north part of the dark rift, and most of the energy is concentrated at the south part with the galactic bulges. And if that part opens, then it's obviously bad news. Obviously, my last documentary is going to add a lot of weight to this section. I want to talk about iron meteorites again. We covered a little bit of this earlier, but there's more to go through. The NASA scientists say that the few big kilometer-wide iron meteorites vaporize at impact with the Earth, leaving a crater. This is nonsense. This is why earlier the biggest meteorite in the world we saw was quite small, like the size of a truck. Now, at this massive meteor crater in Arizona, a company rented the crater from the US government in 1903 to search for iron, and they didn't find anything. They even dug a hole 419 meters deep. Impact physics was poorly understood at the time, and a guy called Barringer was unaware that most of the meteorite vaporized on impact, as he was told. And he spent 27 years trying to locate the meteoric iron. And he never found it, never found any. But of course, what they do, they have bits in display in museums saying, oh, this is a bit of that meteorite. I think there's some bits they put in a museum in Arizona saying, oh, this is the meteorite that caused the crater, a little bit we found. This is nonsense. I did the same with the Russian meteorite in 2013, more recently. The explosion took place in February, and after 8 months they lied that a piece was found in a lake. But that lake was examined in February and there was still ice covering it. A spokeswoman for the emergency ministry said, her name was Irina Rotius, she said, the ministry's divers have completed examining the lake's area but discovered no traces of the meteorite. So I think there's a big hoax going on regarding the craters. They're not formed by rocks or metal pieces. They're possibly formed by exploding devices or exploding something. Just like Tunguska and the one that exploded over Russia 2013. The iron meteorites that are found never have a crater. And where there is a crater, they always fake that they found something, but nothing is ever there. It is obviously a lie that pieces of large metal explode at impact and evaporate. It's like 9/11 stuff. I believe it is a lie that craters are caused by meteorites. So what is causing these craters? Now this is for another time, but I do have a lot of information on this and ideas. And it's to do with what we know as the stars. And I hope to present this information soon.
Now in Chapter 5 I want to have a look at some things NASA are up to, CERN, some current symbolism, what's potentially coming, current trajectories, what symbolism might be pointing towards. We can see some strange things with NASA. I mean, the Vatican own the largest and longest telescope observatories, and one they've actually called Lucifer, which is a bit strange. they've come out last week and said there's 1 billion Earths in our galaxy alone. They're really pushing this possible other life thing. Here we go. New livable planets everywhere. Even on the NASA website, they've got this NEXSS coalition to lead search for life on distant worlds. And we can see on YouTube, if we just do a quick search, there's tons of stuff. NASA getting closer to finding alien life. We're on the verge of finding alien life. A lot of this is on mainstream news. Did NASA Mars rover just find proof of alien life? What's going on here? Dark matter news. NASA and ESA prep public for aliens. Henry Kissinger in 1991 said if there was a threat from beyond, for example an alien invasion, whether real or promulgated, he said this will help bring in a world government. And there's also tons of stuff in the New Age, alternative media, World Online about false flag alien invasions. This isn't really something I buy into personally, but it's worth knowing about. It's on the table, shall we say. Now, we'll have a little look into CERN, which is the place in Geneva, the Hadron Collider. At this place, they've got a massive statue of Shiva, the god of destroyer, the god of destruction, which is a little bit strange. And this year, before they turned it on again, they made a sort of a promotion video with a really bizarre dance of destruction. I'm trying to load this up. This is very odd. This place is 300 foot down, 18 miles wide. There's a very worried man there. Man in the middle collapsing. And what they're doing there, I don't think is what they say they're doing there. We've got a man in all sorts of trouble here. Looks like he's in distress. And this is very interesting. It's like a dark hand. He's falling into like an abyss. And there's the man in the middle, sort of lost his centre in this circle, and the edges are protected by this sort of dark dude. Some are seeing some of this CERN stuff as some sort of biblical prophecy. There's 5 people there, which is a pentagram. It's upside down actually, if you see the man at the bottom. It's an upside down pentagram. Very strange why a science laboratory would do something like that. Let's move on. What we've got coming up soon is the last of the 4 blood moons in a row. This is quite rare to have 4 blood moons in a row. Lunar eclipses, which I explained in my free ebook. And there's tons of stuff online and in the conspiracy world about this this blood moon on 28th of September. And these are 4 blood moons, also linked to a lot of Jewish festivals, and there's tons of people talking about these blood moons, this tetrad. Here we go. I had a little look on YouTube, and there's like thousands of videos. And stuff about asteroids, comets, earthquakes, biblical revelation, the economy crash, you name it, all linked to this blood moon. A lot of destruction, tons of fear porn. I give this something happening here only up to like a 20-30% chance personally. I'll go into it for a little bit just to present what is out there at the moment. we go, more pages on YouTube. Is this the end? Prepare. This girl here, how does lunar eclipse happen? Well, she's more than welcome to come and talk to me about it, which I wrote about in a book. It's just tons of stuff about this blood moon coming in September. Global reset. You drive yourself crazy watching these, I think. Now, we know Hollywood love to put symbolism into their productions, like they did for 9/11 before it happened, like they did with, Robin Williams. He sort of died on The Simpsons a few minutes before he died in real life. We had loads of like Sandy Hook stuff in movies, Boston Marathon. I just want to have a little look at some symbolism out there for this September date.
I would now like to take a look at some TV shows that point us to the September 22nd and 23rd dates. The first show is called Third Rock from the Sun, and this episode was from 1996. It mentions that a vaporizing meteor is scheduled to hit the Earth in 2015.
And yet everyone on the planet gets all worked up about these pointless little behaviors, blissfully unaware of the great vaporizing meteor due in 2015.
The island. When did you come here? How long ago? 60, 69 days. What was the date? September 22nd.
So, of course, this all has to do with CERN, and even on CERN's logo, as many have exposed as well, you've got the 666 spinning. We see CERN being used by even heavy metal bands like Megadeth. You've got Super Collider there, and this is CERN being shown on the album cover.
To the fabric of the universe at a level we've never done before. This is telling us something that's a key. It could be the final point in the standard model, but we know at some level we're pretty sure that the standard model is not the full picture. So we've kind of completed one part of the story, if you like, and we're on the frontier now. We're on the edge of a new exploration. And this could open up, and this could open up, and this could open up, maybe we see nothing extraordinary, and we understand that maybe this is the only part of the story that's left, or maybe we open up a whole new realm of discovery.
923-1780.
Clearly, he's leaving us a code. Some way to reach him. A time or a date, maybe? September 23rd? September 23rd.
Break the code and open the door.
I would like to point out that there is a demonic festival taking place in Atlanta from September 25th to 27th. Their website shows this key to happiness, which again is a reference to the key to the abyss, which will open at this time when the fifth woe of Revelation 9 takes place. We also recently had a Taco Bell advertisement in which the 923 is flashed on the screen, and at the end of the commercial we see two of the people breaking through a barrier and going to a paradise-like place. There are numerous songs where the 923 date is shown. In 2011, Florence and the Machine released a song called Spectrum that has these lyrics: "When we come back, we'll be dressed in black, and you'll scream my name aloud, and we won't eat and we won't sleep, we'll drag bodies from the ground." In the video, we see Florence with the one-eyed symbolism and her clock set at 9:23. We also have a song by Miley Cyrus that is called 23. In the video, we see numerous times the 9 and 23 hidden together.
Have 500 days to avoid the climate chaos. Very important issue of climate change, climate chaos, and I said that we had 500 days to avoid climate chaos, and I know that President Obama and John Kerry himself are committed on this subject, and I'm sure that with them, with a lot of other friends, we shall be able to reach a success in this very important matter.
So we see the following times: 12 o'clock midday, rapture clock at 0, and September 22nd. Interestingly, this appears to mirror the story told in the movie Evan Almighty, where Evan Baxter had to board the Ark by 12 midday on September 22nd.
Maybe it was just a coincidence. I mean, a name is just a name, and a number's just a number, and a number's just a number, and a number's just a number.
What if there was a place? A secret place. With every second that ticks by, the future is running out.
Oh my God.
The smaller comet will hit first.
We now have the details.
Creating a tidal wave over 3,000 feet high. Creating a tidal wave over 3,000 feet high. Waves has been constructed. We're going to hold a national lottery. We can put 1 million people.
Here's the clip from the Deep Impact movie, and as you can see here, 921 is shown, and then you have the bunker, and the 923 is shown on the right side. So these, I believe, are the dates that they are pointing to when they're going to start getting into their bunkers, between the 21st and the 23rd of September.
The first part of this video will address the movie Evan Almighty. There are references in the movie to September 22nd.
It's September 22nd, it's September 22nd, and we're all still here. Awkward!
People! The flood is imminent!
In 9 hours and 23 minutes, you'll be mine. In 9 hours and 23 minutes, in 9 hours and 23 minutes, you'll be mine.
There's also there's a new film coming out soon, Fantastic Four, called Change is Coming. This is the main slogan of the film. And on the poster, we've got like the sky going a bit crazy and a big light coming out of it. I mean, what is that about? And of course, on TV the past few years, past 5 years, there's tons of series about, you know, post-apocalyptic, Jericho and all the rest, and loads of zombie and vampire series. It's just not normal to have that much. Also, we can see these sort of apocalyptic music festivals, and this sort of wasteland weekend, the world's largest post-apocalyptic festival. I don't even know what goes on there, but it looks a little bit weird. Now, a friend of mine sent me this. This is deagle.com. They're to do with the military, and they're to do with space. I mean, these are gatekeepers. And if we look at the population of America, it's been going up steadily. Constant rise, like most countries. Everyone seems to like having sex a lot. And on this Deagle site, if you look at, they do forecasting. If you pick any country, let's pick America. Current population, 320 million. Now, their forecast of 2025 is a population reduction of 65 million. If we go and pick any country, let's go for Germany. And their 2025, a population reduction of 48 million. Spain, let's have a look at Spain. Currently 47 million. A population reduction of 26 million. What is going on there? That is very odd. So it looks like something's coming, you know? I mean, these pieces of the jigsaw paint a picture. We see a lot of rich and powerful people building bunkers at the moment. This is on the rise, luxury bunkers. But of course, if there's a major cataclysm like 10, 11, 12,000 BC, 12,000 BC, these bunkers aren't going to help you. I mean, Singapore seems to be ready. A crazy building up in Singapore. Now, cataclysms definitely happened before. Here is an underwater city, Egyptian. It's known as the Lost Egyptian City. A city doesn't just sit at the bottom of the ocean for no reason. And what happened to this city, no one really knows. There's a lot of fabricated stories in the mainstream, but we can't trust anything they say. So we know that around 11, 12,000 BC we can see an advanced human civilization was wiped out. And it's possible that this reality we're in has some sort of cataclysmic reset in a regular cycle. This isn't like negative, good or bad, it's just a natural harmonic. A bit like a wave at the ocean. It comes in and it comes out. One thing I'd be aware of is if there is a dome ceiling full of metal, if the controllers wanted to actually create something, they could fire some sort of super weapon or explode a drone, something like this. They could fire something at the dome ceiling to create an asteroid, could they not? What I would advise is, if you saw anything in the sky, question if it's man-made or not, while you're running. And we can also see, at the moment in today's world, there's a lot of war exercises, economies on the edge, sinkholes, crazy weather, trumpet sounds, chemtrails, government acting super shilly, even for them. CERN, NASA propaganda's gone into overdrive, and all this crazy symbolism. And it all indicates that something's about to hit the fan in the coming years. And we can see these tanks moving all around America. Why would they be doing this? We can see a map of the oceans if there was a problem on the east or west coast. I personally, if I lived on the east or west coast in America, I'd take a little camping trip in late September. This is the real insurance. This isn't really fear, it's insurance. Fear's like insuring your car and things, isn't it, really? So, we find ourselves in this sort of large mind control reality. It's a very beautiful reality, but there's a ton of mind control going on. People live in this la-la land, but they think it's the flat earthers that live in la-la land. This is like the joke, the reverse strangeness, everything's back to front. And this lie about the earth is centuries old, and people are starting to uncover it. It's highly possible, excuse me, that they want us to uncover it. It's highly possible that they put this out there, and for some unknown reason, they want us to know, or they want us to focus on this. This is something I can't rule out. But we need to go a little bit deeper into ourselves and realise that we've been lied to massively. Many of us were wrong for decades. And we have to decide individually how we're going to proceed, how we're going to deal with that, and how to act moving forward. What to tell our children, It's a lot of related repercussions, because the demon of deception got to us. But we've woken up and are starting to slowly push the globe out of the mindset, to lift the veil. But it's all just cycles. All cycles come and go. And this sort of capitalistic, crazy, techno-fascist dystopia we're sort of in, this isn't going to be here forever. If you think it is, you need to really have a sit down and think. Now the Sphinx, this is something I wrote about years ago. The Sphinx is a half lion and half man. And on the vernal equinox at sunrise, it faced Leo when it was built approximately 12,000 years ago, which was about 10,000 BC. Now around now, the Sphinx, on the sunrise at the vernal equinox, pretty much faces Aquarius, with Leo at its rear, 180 degrees. Now what were these ancient civilizations trying to tell us? Why were they mapping out these ages, Leo to Aquarius, with such an amazing monument? Why now? Why Aquarius, the water bearer? I've said many times things will be different on Earth by around 2020, 2021. Some other mystic dudes I know say 2025, but the domino events could start earlier. Others say a critical mass awakening could occur and we all evolve and see the Earth in a higher vibration. But what is the critical mass? Is it 10% of the population waking up? 33%? 51%? I mean, we are years and years away from even 20% of the population being awake. And we're probably around 6% now. And that's being super generous. I mean, there's just so much we don't know about this reality. And it looks like a cycle is about to end in the coming years, or at least change. I would say if you're looking for promotion in your office job and saving to buy a new sofa in your densely populated city, I would say you're placing your energy in the wrong place. Because I don't think supermarket lorries and cash machines will be around in about 10 years' time. I don't know why or how, but that's what I feel. Me personally, I'm just going to keep exposing and keep soldiering on. That's all we can do, I think, because we're in a war. It's an information war. Because flat Earth is really the current edge of things, the edge of our reality, the edge within ourselves, the edge of our current cycle, and where humanity currently finds itself, at the edge of awakening.